Welcome to Cerebral Women in Paris Art Talks podcast. I'm Phyllis, Hollis, your host. Years ago, after hearing an artist say art will save us, my intellectual curiosity was sparked, and I began a journey to understand exactly how. Through conversations with visual artists and the professionals who support them, I explore how art helps us see our history, our culture, our lives, and the experience of others in ways no other medium can. Capturing these voices is essential. They remind us of the power of art and the importance of noticing life's simple beauty. And now, here in Paris, a city that has long welcomed the daring, the dreamers, and the defiant, I continue these conversations where art breathes, questions, and reminds us that creation itself is an act of liberation. Welcome and enjoy Cerebral Women in Paris. In this episode, I feature April Bey. She grew up in the Bahamas and resides and works in Los Angeles as a visual artist and art educator. She is a tenured professor at Glendale College. Her interdisciplinary practice examines American and Bahamian culture, feminism, post-colonialism, speculative futurism, and blurred culture. Working across textiles, print media, collage, installation, and mixed media, she constructs immersive, imagined worlds that function as both refuge and provocation. Central to her work is Atlantica, a speculative universe where glitter operates as currency, and narratives of blackness, queerness, pleasure, and futurity are centered beyond colonial frameworks. April's work has been the subject of solo exhibitions, including Turn Gallery in Nassau, Ville Meter in Los Angeles, the Nevada Museum of Art in Reno, the California African American Museum in Los Angeles, among a few. Her work has been included in group exhibitions at the Getty Museum, the Modern Fort Worth, the National Art Gallery of the Bahamas, and other institutions. She has presented solo booths at major art fairs and has completed public art and commission projects for Freedom's Fringe Projects and Glendale Library Arts and Culture. Her work is held in various public collections. Enjoy this episode of Cerebral Women in Paris, featuring April Bey. April, welcome to Cerebral Women in Paris. I'm delighted to have you.
And I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me, Phyllis.
When did you realize that you are a visual artist?
I don't think I realized it so much as my parents came to the conclusion that that's what was going to happen. It was like I grew up in the Bahamas, which is very visual art oriented in the school systems. And that was something perpetually as a kid I asked for Christmas and my birthday was new crayons, new coloring pencils, new canvases. And so I think I realized it was something I wanted to do as an adult when I was in high school. And I was failing miserably at the placement exams to determine whether I should go into banking or, hotel management, restauranting. I just was not placing anywhere but the creative fields. That's the moment where I thought I think this is the only way to be a happy adult for me.
How do you define your practice?
A lot of playing and troublemaking and putting things together that shouldn't go together because I want them to go together. A lot of playing and experimenting.
So during your high school years, when you were starting to come to the conclusion that you should lean towards art, was there a particular body of work or artists who really influenced you?
Well, to be honest, in the Bahamas, I didn't have access to the concept of art. When I was in high school, art was taught to us as a craft that we might do to impress tourists or to sell to tourists or possibly to help us get into Junkanoo, creating costumes for Junkanoo. So the idea of museums and galleries and a whole system existing where it was a real thing, that wasn't something that I really understood or knew about.
And when did the technique you have today, when did that start to develop?
So the technique I have today, I would describe as a lot of rule breaking in different purist disciplines. So for example, sewing. There's a lot of rules that I break within sewing, and I would trace that back to my senior high school standardized testing where we were tested in home economics. And one of the tests we had to take was to sew a lab coat. And I sewed the lab coat. Like, technically, it fit, it worked, it was a lab coat, but it was still a white lab coat. And so, because I had extra time on the exam, I decided to decorate the pocket with cross stitching, and I did like a teddy bear, and it was like a hyper realistic teddy bear. And I was young, and I thought it was the coolest ever, and I was like so excited to show the tester like what I did, and I failed that part of the exam because the lesson she was teaching me was like, you need to follow directions. Like, the directions were to just make the coat. Like, nobody wanted you to do anything on the pocket. And I felt like it was so unfair at the time, and that kind of sparked and started my entire art education. Like, even when I was in school as an art student, I would sit down patiently in watercolor and learn a technique, and then I would immediately take it to oil painting. How can I just make this work for me? Because, like, I understand the rules a lot, but I really like to break them to make things look the way I want them to look. And that's very much how Bahamian aesthetic is as well. Like, if you look at the buildings on the islands and like the way our systems run, we have like a system on paper, but very seldom do we follow it because we have so many limitations and problems that happen. We just kind of break rules to make things work so that they eventually get done.
What materials do you use in your work?
I like to use metallic thread, epoxy resin, wood panels are my favorite. They're very expensive, but they're my favorite. Twins, glitter. And when I draw, lately I really like to do watercolor pencils, watercolor markers, and then a plethora of fabrics that I collage to make into one. So right now I've been working with leather and organza, which is new for me and very unforgiving, but interesting. And so I also work with jacquard and satin, crushed velour, crushed velvet, Sherpa. So that's kind of what I'm working with right now.
And do you listen to music while you're working?
I do. I do. Right now, I'm listening to Salt's new album that just came out on my birthday for me. And that's spelled Sault. And all of my friends know, like, I've been obsessed with Salt since, like, we didn't know who they were. The summer before the pandemic, 2019, is when their first album came out. And for years, nobody knew who they were. But yeah, I've been listening to that obsessively, and also some Ethiopian jazz from the 1970s.
And how do you feel music impacts your creativity?
Every body of work I have, every solo show, I can tell you what music I was listening to based on the titles. First of all, I listen to albums. I'm not a single person. Like, maybe I'll have a playlist that I consider my album that I put all of my favorite songs together. But typically when I'm listening to artists, I will listen to an entire album that just came out, and I'll listen to each song repeatedly back to back. And so then, like, lyrics will play over and over. And the work I do is repetitive. So it's like sewing for hours. So I could be hearing the same lyric up to 7 times while I'm working on the same stretch of like tapestry. And then it'll start to make sense, and I'll write it down. And then when the piece is done, I'll be like, well, it has to be that stretch of lyrics as the title because that title means something now.
And is that when you decide on the title of a work?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes the title comes to me before the work is finished. But most of the time, the title is assigned after the piece is finished, and all of the fabrics collage, and I can see the gestures, what they really look like when they're finished.
So going back to your comment about drawing, what is the role of drawing in your work?
My undergrad is in drawing. So I spent 4 years just like traditionally drawing charcoal. My specialty was in colored pencils. So I would do watercolor under paintings and then colored pencil on top. And I did very large drawings. And so I do have traditional drawings in like my most contemporary work. Like my first museum show had several large drawings. But now the drawing is kind of in the form of sewing. In a lot of my works, they're quite beautiful on the front. And the pieces that are collaged on the front are physically collaged by hand sewing. However, when you look at the back of the artworks, you can't see the collage. All you can see is the functionality of the sewing, which becomes a line. And the stitching on the back moves around and forms all of these external contour lines. and internal contour lines, line contour lines, so to speak. And these are like traditional drawing terms because I also teach drawing. But it's on the back. My favorite parts of all of my works are the backs because it's a drawing on the back. And especially in the hard pieces where I have to drill each hole in order to sew through wood and resin. When you look at the back, you can see all of the holes that were drilled and then the delicate thread that connects the holes and forms their own lines and imagery on the back.
Do you recall how your professors impacted your inspiration or your desire to become an artist?
Yeah, I feel like they all wanted to strangle me at different parts of my time with them because like I in undergrad I was very respectful. My undergraduate career was very much like discipline focused. They weren't really asking us to think about our art. They were like trying to teach us how to safely not get cancer and how to cut wood properly and how to mix paint. And so that was like a very much that was the 4 years of learning traditional drawing, printmaking, sculpture, ceramics, etc. In grad school, though, that's kind of where I was in an interdisciplinary program, which meant that they gave us keys to all of the studios and they encouraged us to dip and dabble in different disciplines, even though we were majoring in specific disciplines. So I was MFA painting at the time. And so like I struggled in that program because even though it was interdisciplinary, at the end of the semester, all of the professors would come together and review and critique our work from the semester. And each professor would come very solidly within their discipline. And it was confusing for me because I was mixing and matching and putting a whole bunch of stuff. And so at one point I was confused, like, do I do what my professors want me to do or do I do what I want to do? And so like it was a visiting artist named Tom Nechtel. He's a brilliant painter here based in LA. He was mentoring me while I was in grad school and he was just like, do what you want to do and smoke a cigarette afterwards. And I just did that. And I decided that if the graphic design professors had a hard time with the font, that I would make the font even bigger and put it on the wall and I would mess up the kerning and I would just destroy the spacing. And if purists that quilt or sew have a hard time with me not using backing, then I'll just sew into wood. And I feel like pushing it so far in the other direction kind of helped bring it back around for me. And that's where I was able to like, my professors and I were able to see eye to eye because they were like, okay, now you're pushing it to a point where it's not like slightly irritating to us.
So I often ask people if their life experiences are reflected in their work. I want to tweak that question a little and ask, how are your life experiences reflected in your work?
So my actual life experiences have been textured and difficult. And the art that I make it's recuperation for me. The work always has a sinister and sweet quality to it where it's very sweet looking in it and it has like an optimism behind it that is dealing with very serious and depressing subjects. I also deal with things in my work that I feel like I can't deal with in real life, that I like people that I can't have justice with in real life, I can tackle in my work.
What is your process of choosing color?
So this was something that really tormented me when I was in grad school because my dear professors, they would ask me this all the time and I would just sit there and be like, I don't know, like I just like what I like. But now that I'm an adult, I know. The reason is because my house growing up, we changed the color every year. One year it was pink, one year it was pink, yellow, one year it was, and all of our neighbors were coordinated. After hurricane season, everybody paints their house. And, we have bougainvillea everywhere and the water surrounding everywhere we have to work and go to school is teal. And so like that's honestly where a lot of my color palettes come from. When I moved to the US as an older teenager, I immediately recognized that everything was beige or at the very least like brick colored. And I was like, well, who paints their house pink? Or like where are those neighborhoods at? That you might find a few neighborhoods like that in Miami. That's primarily where my color palette comes from. I've tried to do neutral work as experiments. And I always end up like framing a black and white print in hot pink fur.
When do you know a work is finished?
When all of the sewing is done. When every hole, a needle has gone through every hole, I'm a process-based artist. I really enjoy the process. And once I can't touch it anymore, like once everything's done on it, then I'm just like, okay, it's done. And every stage of the pieces that I work on, they're very finite. If I don't like something, I can't change it. I have to do the whole piece over because it's like cutting and hand sewing. If I don't like it, I can take the stitches out, but I still cut into the original piece. So I have to so it's one of those things where the image I have to be happy with once it's in the digital phase. And then if it becomes, I have a lot of physical pieces that didn't make it. Once I got them physically done, I was like, yuck. And I had to just set them behind the door somewhere, or be a doorstop. But that's when I know when I know it's finished, when all of the premeditated holes and designed areas of like hand sewing is finished. It's finished. Like it's very much, all of my pieces are designed like a puzzle piece that I hope everything comes together. Sometimes they don't, but pretty much they come together, and that's when they're done. And if they're physically done in the creation process and I hate them, then they get rolled up and put somewhere like behind the kitchen door.
What do you enjoy most about your practice?
I really enjoy the freedom. I enjoy the freedom of being able to create and the people that are involved in my practice, because I have a lot of the public. I shoot people from the public to be in my work, and the support that they give me, it allows me to feel like I can really explore whatever I want in my work, and they're still going to support. And that's not easy to achieve in this field, and that directly translates to freedom for me. And that's what I'm eternally grateful for in my practice.
If you weren't a visual artist, or if you just weren't in the arts, what other career path do you think you would have chosen?
Probably dog trainer. I'm really good at it. I've always been really good at understanding dogs. And it's a hobby now. So I'm training my dog now to be a service dog. And we've been like 2 years into different dog training programs. And it's coming along. He's a puppy and we started really early. But yeah, that would be my secondary career for sure.
How do you keep learning?
I read a lot. I read a lot. I also watch a lot of news. Like ever since I was a kid, when I got the first assignment to do a current events or watch the news and report on it, I've been watching the news ever since. It's something I have to do regardless of the time zone, country I'm in. And I have different sources that I watch as well. And recently I've been going and learning like hands-on physical hobbies to get out of the art world. So like I started learning how to roller skate again, and that's been interesting and painful, but also, something new to learn about myself so that I can bring that into the studio to be like, maybe I shouldn't be sewing with my back at a 90-degree angle. Maybe that's not sustainable.
Do you feel Black art can be defined?
I mean, yes and no. I think it's defined by its inability to be defined.
Can you elaborate on that?
So it's like you can say what a black hole is, but you can't. Like a black hole is one of those things that we all are fascinated by, and we keep trying. It seems like every 3 months there's a new video or a new photo that we're saying, oh, this is the black hole. It's a black hole captured. It's not really though, because it can't be. You just know that it's there. And I could expand that even like larger and say that like if somebody believes in God, you can name it and say that you have a God, but it's also undefinable because it's, all encompassing. It's in perpetuity throughout the universe. So it's like I am aware that Black art exists. I'm Black. I'm in a community. I see it, but it looks like a South African. It looks like an Ethiopian. It's all encompassing and expansive. So it's both. Yeah, at the same time.
What does your workspace look and feel like?
Okay, so I'm a Capricorn and I'm also a tenured professor. So my studio really very much looks like a studio would look if you were on campus. So I have safety sheets up. All of my yarn and everything is color coordinated and organized. Threads are organized. That's also because when I work, I'm messy. So I like to just grab things, and almost like how a chef has their kitchen set up really nice and clean before they get in there. They have all their prep set up, all their cups and everything. And then after they cook, it's a mess. But somebody else comes in and cleans that. So that's how my space is set up. And it also has a lot of comfy areas because like if I walk from one room to the other and I get tired, I need to have a place to sit and relax to catch myself. Also, when I have studio visits, I like people to be comfortable and to have a lot of places to sit. All my seating is accessible, which is important to me, body inclusive.
When you're working, do you think about who your audience is?
Yes and no. I think about my audience in terms of the respect that I should have for them. Like I have to respect that you can get certain things. So I'm not going to over explain things in my work or be too heavy handed because I think that the intellectual stamina is there. I also think about the audience in terms of accessibility, like how they end, because I do a lot of installations. And so like I do want to think about whether someone in a wheelchair, someone of a certain size can make it into the installation and experience it like everybody else. But like I said, for myself, like the process of it, the curiosity behind it, there's a lot of my work sometimes that goes out there that I consider sketches because I just wanted to see it complete. But when the sketch is complete, it's a whole work. So yeah, I think like every artist should be both. And I mean, if you're just making work in a vacuum without thinking about the audience, that's very masturbatory, in my opinion, because you're still asking people to look at your work and consider it, and you're involving other people.
Do you feel your audience understands your work?
I think so. I mean, there's different levels to come into it. If you want to just be cheesy and happy and joyous, then all are welcome. I do. I think that it also has a very strong nerdy thread to it of people who follow it just for like the lore and the storytelling, but it's not necessary to engage with the work.
Share with us, what are you excited about right now?
I'm excited about the new work that's coming out, that's going to be coming out this year from younger artists. I'm excited about emerging artists that are coming out. Imperfect art. I'm hoping to see more painting that has more of the artist's hand in it, both in concept and execution, and materiality as well. Some dirt and straw and hay. I'm looking for some like analog art making, and from what I'm seeing from the youth, because you know I'm still in academia, I'm seeing a lot of that coming back, and I'm looking forward to that getting up into this level.
What do you feel is the purpose of art?
To generate questions, to generate conversation, to create spaces for both.
This has been great. This is the last question. How do you want your art to impact the way people think?
I hope that my artwork and the environments that I create for the art, I hope that it helps people slow down a little bit and marinate, especially when they're having good times, when they're enjoying life. I want us to be able to retain and remember those slow moments of peace and happiness instead of rushing off into chaos.
April, I've really enjoyed our conversation. It was as uplifting as your art is. I love looking at your work. It makes me feel great. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you too.
Thank you for listening to Cerebral Women Art Talks podcast. For additional content, please visit cerebralwomen.com and be sure to follow Cerebral Women on Instagram.